Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Alisha Brashay here at Cosmic Gateway. I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Jeff Krisman. He's joined with me here, and this is a series that we're going to be doing unfolding through storytelling at various different topics. Last week we recorded our first where we talked about Dolores Cannon, and we touched on sort of star seeds, and each week we're just going to unravel through different conversations, different topics. I know, thank you for the suggestions, and we'll try and get to them as we go along, and we're going to try and keep it relevant to our own experiences as well. So there may be things that we can touch on, and there may not be other topics that we can't dive too deeply in, just because it's not in the realm of our own experiences. And we're going to try and keep it to what we know from what we've experienced, really. So Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks so much, Alisha. It's always wonderful to be here with you. Appreciate it.
So you came to me this week. I mean, it was always going to be a matter of like unfolding of what's current themes, what are energies, what are we going through as individuals, and what's a shared experience. And I can honestly say that this week has been such a mixed bag that I don't even know where to begin. And I was like, you know what? We could go anywhere, really. And you brought a topic to me of, talking about friendships and, old paradigm, new paradigm. And I thought, yeah, that's a really great topic to talk about, because it's so common. It is very, very common going through your awakening, going through your ascension, or life journey in general. Connections, relationships, how they can be really challenged as we go through our own evolutionary process. And I thought we could just sort of open up dialogue around that. And that's something that's not really widely spoken about, but everyone goes through it. I've been through it multiple times. And I think it's really something that, as we expand in a greater consciousness, it happens on a number of levels. It happens in the sense that we can outgrow people through our own experiences, especially if we've had abrupt, what's the word I'm looking for? Spiritual experiences, paranormal experiences, whatever sort of experiences that are otherworldly, that are non-physical, that are hard to comprehend with the lower mind. That can be really challenging then to relate to people who haven't had those experiences. And that's just one small fraction of it, I also see it as a sense that as we grow in our vibrational frequency, we become misaligned and mismatched energetically. And so even though we try and make those relationships, whether it's family or friends or in a relationship, we try and make those things, it's almost like we get ejected out because the vibration kind of repels. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
And so I'd love to get your thoughts on, or, what has it journey been like for you? And I know for a lot of people, and we really want to drop labels, but just for purpose of identification, because we started last week talking about Dolores Cannon and starseeds. I know that starseeds generally feel quite isolated. It's very hard to make friends. It's very hard to relate to other people. Kind of feel like you're an outsider, or you could be, part of most of my life was I would always be in rooms full of people, but I would feel completely alone.
Yeah.
So I'd love for you to share what you feel, comfortable sharing in. What has it been like for your experience?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alicia. I really appreciate you asking about this. And when you were speaking about that sense of isolation, that's the first thing that is coming up for me. Is I can remember even going back to being a child and remembering what it felt like to, I saw other kids, in groups and kind of doing their thing, so to speak. And there was always this sense that I never quite found my people, so to speak. I remember, and it's so weird because I remember being around people And I remember going through school, and I clearly somehow, despite myself, got through that and navigated, that environment. But I never necessarily, and at the time, I don't know, let's say in elementary or junior high school, I don't know that I was really thinking about finding my people, but it was more like trying to really figure out, where I belonged. And there was always this sense of like, there's this lingering sense of loneliness,
Yeah.
but I had no idea how to connect with other people. It was always very uncomfortable. I can remember even as a child, it was very, very uncomfortable. And I think a lot of it was focused back inward on, it was something with me that I somehow didn't feel. I know there was no sense of confidence, or there was no sense of ease with getting to know people. And I mean, I definitely did have, looking back now, I mean, I feel like I did have some friends and I had some acquaintances, but I think it was more that actually, I'm just now realizing this in the moment, that somehow I had friends. I remember there were people that I was friends with, but I have no idea how it happened. And now I'm wondering if maybe, is it possible that that's the way it was supposed to work? Because I can definitely say that I didn't go through childhood being completely alone. I mean, I certainly felt alone a lot of the time. And I mean, I didn't have any deep friendships, but I felt like there were people that was interacting with, but it's almost like it was very serendipitous. And that's so weird that I didn't even plan to say that this morning. That
I love how
that was, yeah.
That's why I'm such a big advocate for like talking it out and finding someone that can hold that space, because you learn so much about yourself and your own process just by literally talking out.
Wow.
And things start to click in, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of it and you're like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's so weird that I'm connecting the dots, because that's actually what I was going to speak about a little later with this. Is, I had that in my consciousness, that there was so much of the trying, and at some point there was the surrendering. And I think that's what's been going on here lately, is that I'm finding that it's really my whole idea of what friends are, or how I connect with people, has so little to do with what I call I guess in my mind, at least for me, was the old model of, making a real concerted effort to, and I was going to say, when I got on the spiritual path many years ago, that's what it was really. I was so focused on finding people who could identify with what I was going through, and finding my tribe and finding my people. But it's kind of like the more I tried to do that and the more I forced it, the less it happened. Yeah.
It eluded you, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
And
like everything in
it's so
life.
weird. Yeah.
I think what I really resonate with the most as you were talking is that sense of finding a sense of belonging. That for me, like, I always had a lot of people around me. I was one of those people that I always had a lot of friends, a lot of connections, a lot of acquaintances. But deep down inside, I was yearning for a sense of belonging, a sense of home. And
Yeah.
I always felt very misplaced in Australia. I didn't feel like I belonged. And I thought it was because of my geographical location. And I always
Huh.
felt that if I so like searching for something, we're always seeking something. And for me, I thought, if I just move overseas, if I just go to a different country, I'm going to fill that void. I'm going to find what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And so I would travel. I traveled a lot in 20s. Just every chance I got, my pattern was I worked 3 jobs, I would save up a bunch of money, and then I would just, I'm off, I'm gone,
Mhm.
and but I was seeking to find something that was what I now realize in hindsight was a remembrance of who I was. And it was a hole within me that hadn't been fulfilled or remembered or restored. It wasn't a geographical location. And actually, funny story, when I started having conscious contact with my star family, I'll never forget the overwhelming sense of love and belonging that I felt. It still brings tears to my eyes now, because the love that you feel as you connect with those beings, and that frequency of home that you've been searching for. And I went to, someone invited me to go to a Stargate meditation night where people got together and they were, meditating and bringing in various different star beings and those frequencies. As soon as they called in the Arcturians, my whole body just went cold and shaking, and like
Wow.
vibrational frequency just going through me, and I just started to cry and cry, because it was like I could feel them, and that yearning for home, that yearning, and so anyway, after the end of that meditation class, I went home, and I had a housemate at the time who didn't know me all that well. And so he comes home, and I'm sitting on my balcony, absolutely hysterical in tears. And he comes up to me and he goes, "Are you okay? What's wrong?" I'm like, "I want to go home."
I love that.
And he's looking at me, he's like, "You're sitting on your balcony at your home." You didn't quite get it. And I'll never forget that, because it's just that yearning. And I see that a lot of people, when they establish that after a long period of time of searching for something, knowing that something's out there, and then finding it, it's overwhelming. And yet it's not, for a lot of people, it's not within the physical realm. It's not within the physical
Yeah.
parameters, but it's an energy. And I truly believe that it's that energy and frequency that we're meant to reclaim, to restore, to bring here to earth, So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but in the process of that, you don't, someone was saying to me today, and I laughed. I was like, yeah. I was saying, while you're going through the dark night of the soul, you don't have the connection to your higher awareness or your higher self. Otherwise, it's too easy, right?
Oh,
You,
yeah.
you can't go to the depths of, your darkness with your higher self going, "That's all right, just do this, go there, you'll be fine." Everything gets shut down. You're in this black hole. So it
Oh,
defeats
yeah.
the purpose of the game. So I know I've gone on a tangent, but how have you found that when you let go of that trying to control, I can't remember the words you put in it, but like actively seeking friendships or connections, and how have those connections come in for you in different ways, or what have you found that has been kind of divinely orchestrated, really, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to say that I think I'm so glad that you asked that, because I'm finding that this is just really coming up in the moment, that I think what was missing was that I never really was connected myself to it. And I can't say necessarily that I'm completely connected now. I mean, there's no way to know. But what I'm finding is that until I really found, until I found some home here,
Mm-hmm.
until I began to be secure, somewhat more secure in just being connected to it all, and really, and it not just being words, but actually feeling it to a certain degree.
Yeah.
What I'm finding is that it's almost like, in a way, it's like I really, even though maybe it felt like I was alone, looking back at it now, I realized that I really was more connected, but I couldn't see that because I was too busy out here, trying to do whatever it was that I needed to do to find people to be connected with.
Mm-hmm.
And I could never really rest here in, in my heart or in my spirit or whatever however we refer to this. And it's almost as if I was looking for something that I was already here first.
Yeah.
But I also realized too that I don't necessarily want to spend the rest of my life being completely isolated and just, being
Right.
connected. I do want to be out in the world, and I do want to connect with people like you and to be able to have these conversations. But I think there was always kind of like there was always a goal. It was always like, well, if I get, and that's really what started, doing having the conversations that I was having and reaching out to people was, well, this will be really great. I can have some good conversations with people and hopefully, make some friends along the way. And, but it was almost as if I was so busy, fixated on what I was trying to do that I was missing out on what was really happening at a deeper level. And I also didn't realize that these connections with people, they happen when they're supposed to happen and not when I'm trying to necessarily, even when I think that there is a connection. I don't know I don't know if that leads me closer to it or leads me further away from it. Any thoughts or preconceived notions I have about, oh my gosh, I'm connecting with someone. Yeah. Just all the thoughts that are around that.
Yeah, it's interesting what the mind does, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I agree with you. I don't think that we're meant to live a life alone in isolation. That was the path of the yogis, and that was the path of the spiritual seekers from previous eras. I think that this time round, it's what's coming to mind right now is that African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Love that. Absolutely love it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, I truly believe when there's cohesion in a group, that is really what can accelerate things. You can only get so far on your own before that amplification from another or multiple is needed. And I think that's why I don't know, I'm speaking for myself here, but I think that's why people who are on, divine partnership journeys, or seeking soul family as a whole, have that yearning and understanding, because they know that it's more powerful and palpable when, like minds and like frequencies come together and what's possible through that. Because I do think that in ancient times, that was how great civilizations were built, was through the synergy and cohesion of people coming together, and focusing their consciousness to materialize, to manifest, to co-create in a way. I think about times in Lemuria and how, birthing was a process of many people focused on welcoming in that soul. It was beyond just the mother who was giving life. It was very much when I say collaborative effort, I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying here. But it was a collective feeling or knowing that the society in some way would be better to have sorry, the word just completely gone out of my head. There would be betterment to their society by having or bringing in another soul with specific expertise. And so then it was agreed upon by the community, and then then a woman was chosen to be able to bring in and call in that higher being, with conscious intention. And even though, yes, it was one woman going through it or two people going through that process, it was shared and relished by the whole community. So you can look at it in so many different lights about how important conscious community is, because I think unconscious community creates drama. And I think we're kind of
Oh yeah.
and I think we're going out of, slowly but slowly, surely we're going out of that sort of conflict creates opportunity and growth, to cohesion brings opportunity and growth. At least I would like to
Yeah. Oh
coin that
yeah.
phrase. and at least that's the potential that I see, is that for, because we were talking off camera just before this about, does it get any easier? And I truly believe that it does. I truly believe that it does. I remember I saw a psychic many times when I was growing up, a teenager, and wow, she used to tell me the most incredible things that pretty much all came true. And at things at that time that I didn't even comprehend what it meant or what she was talking about. And she told me that I would really struggle. I would go through some very challenging times, especially in my 30s. And she said, but once you get to your mid-30s and beyond that, she said, life will only become better and better and better and better and better, because that's when you will find your purpose, and you will teach about energy. And she said, I won't go into the, she said a lot of things. Oh my God, was she right?
I love it. I love it.
And and she also, I've had many psychics tell me that a big part of my work is to bring conscious community together. And I've always seen myself as a bit of a connector. Instantly, if someone comes to me and they say, oh, I have this idea, but I need this person to do, instantly I go, yep, I know this person, da da da, I'll connect you to, you go talk, blah blah blah. And I always see importance in that. And I think I was very disappointed as a child and teenager, because I just wanted to bring all these people together and everyone to get along.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely find some resonance with that. I mean, there's definitely, I can identify with that a lot, about wanting to just bring, just wanting everyone to love one another, and wanting everyone to be able to appreciate each other, and for there to be peace. I think there was a lot of it was about peace, bringing peace amongst people. Yeah. So I hadn't thought about this in a long time. I'm so glad you brought that up.
It's good walking down memory lane, isn't it? Because it helps you. Oh, I just had massive deja vu there. I just, the most, oh, yeah. What's that about? Okay. I don't know about you, Jeff, but like bringing people together in the past, I'm not talking about now, but it never really fulfilled expectations.
Yes, that's, oh yeah, that one hits home for sure. Absolutely.
It
Absolutely.
always seemed to miss the mark in some capacity, for me at least. And I wonder whether, I'm just going to throw it out there. I mean, it's just ponderings. I don't know. But I often wonder whether the potential of what's possible, and you're always kind of striving to meet that. So you have a lot of near misses in that process.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because think about it. I mean, what if our jobs and roles in different lifetimes or in different planets, wherever, were to experience, whether it was our role or not, but to experience the cohesion of conscious community. And that's what we know, right? And then we come here to Earth. and
it's
then
a whole different thing, right?
And then we're like,
it's a whole different game.
Yeah, we're like, humans? What?
Yeah.
What's your problem? You've got jealousy,
Yeah.
you've got greed, you've got envy, you've got hatred. And I think a lot of us, at least people who haven't had a lot of Earth incarnation, can't understand that. It's so foreign.
Yeah. Yeah, to consider the possibility that it's actually not this way everywhere, that somehow, galactically speaking, And it's so interesting that you brought that up. I was going to tell you, and this is a little bit telling. I feel like I want to be vulnerable and share this.
Yeah.
But I became aware that somehow, and I can't say this model is changing for everyone. I just know for me that it really is, in terms of, just my whole way that of my whole concept of connecting with people. And what I'm finding is that I used to always feel like what I refer to my old model was that I needed to meet someone, I needed to know everything about them, I needed to find all the similarities and all those aha moments of, oh, you like this? Well, so do I. You had this happen, so do. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. Clearly, I mean, that's part of being. I feel like that's part of being human,
Yeah.
is finding that sort of sense of camaraderie
Yeah.
or shared mutual interests. But I had a person that I had reached out to for a podcast interview with a musician that I happened to be a fan of, and we connected. And I knew that we had some of the same interests in terms of musically and things like that. And I had this real kind of like poignant moment where I realized it was almost like we connected and we were communicating via email, and he mentioned some things and I mentioned some things, and I got like way overexcited. And this feels very familiar. This feels very much like the way I always connected with people before. Was, oh my gosh, you like this? So do I. And I felt myself oversharing and responding with all this information about, oh my gosh, well, I want to tell you about this and this and this. And in that moment, of course, I sent the email back. I'd like to say that I caught myself in the moment and realized, oh, you know what? I don't have to do this anymore. But I sent the email, and then I had this huge aha moment. And I realized, oh my goodness, this isn't what this is about. And what's really weird about it is I really didn't care as much as I thought I did about all these things that I was talking about with him. But I think what happened was I was mindlessly doing what humans do. I was this is a pattern, trying to find common shared interests, and I'm like acting out, and there's all this energy around it, but it was so unbelievably unnecessary. And what I realized was, here's the weird part, I knew already in the moment, we weren't really deeply connected. I don't even know that there was going to be any connection of any sort. And the cool part is that is okay. It's like, I don't have to be connected, but it was my whole idea about thinking, well, I'm talking to this person. I admire and respect what they do. We have some of the same interests. So of course I want to be connected, but it's a feel good thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part is, right, we're human, right? We want to have those feel good moments, but energetically speaking, I was trying to force something that had not happened, and most likely it was not going to happen. I don't know if this makes any sense or not.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. And I felt myself, and then I got really caught up in feeling foolish and thinking, I made a fool out of myself. I was oversharing and and putting so much energy into this, and it really was completely empty. There was really no need. It wasn't going to lead to anything or change anything. And that's what I'm wondering now is this what this is all about? This old model was based on ego and identity. And I realize I am also trying to, I'm wanting to love myself unconditionally for being human, but it's almost as if this is the way I used to build connections with people. And this is what I thought I had to do in order to feel connected with someone. Because I sort of had to do something to make it happen. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I'm so grateful for you to be so open and vulnerable and sharing, a personal experience. And I think you're right. I think a big portion of it, if you're going to look at, I'm just trying to find terminology to differentiate the new way and the old way. Let's say, 3D way of relating, it doesn't matter what, we can put whatever label, but I think a lot of connections that relate on a physical level has a lot to do with validation, doesn't it?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, yes.
I think it has a lot to do with wanting to be liked, wanting to be loved, wanting to be validated, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be the same as everyone else.
Yes. Yes.
And, on a superficial level, we can get really sucked into those things, whether it's, oh, he has nice eyes or nice hair or fancy car. We can paint this in any sort of relationship. It doesn't, it can be romantic, it can be friendship, whatever. This is just
Yeah.
relationship in general.
Oh, yeah.
And, that trying to force and trying to make something happen, make something substantial when there's no energy behind it is just a fighting battle, really. I think
Yeah.
as things are changing, because then it transforms in a way that the energy has the richness, it has the integrity, it has the fulfillment, if you will, and the physical things of the things that you would relate to and relate on kind of fade away and become irrelevant when yeah, it's a very different way. And I think that as you go through the different stages of your awakening, you tend to shed friends really quickly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and
um
it's so weird for me to think too. I wonder if sometimes we were connected, if I was connected with people, but I was so busy trying to be connected with people that I didn't even realize that maybe that in some cases there was already a connection there. But because I was so busy doing, yeah, yeah,
Mm-mm. It's so, I think that's why introspection is so important, to take stock of your own self and call yourself. I mean, I always say, like, I always call myself out, or at least I try to, in my motives, my intentions. I'm doing this. Why am I doing that? Is that because, am I motivated from fear? Am I motivated from love? Am I motivated from an external force, or am I motivated from my higher self and my internal guidance? I think that's a really important thing that we have to check in with ourselves. Um, Only in the sense that, I don't know what you think about this, but this is just what's come into my mind. I think we're in a space, an energetic space on the planet right now, that karma comes around a lot quicker than what it used to.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know, it,
That
it
definitely resonates. Yeah,
you know, it just purely in the sense, and I think a lot of people misunderstand what karma is. Karma is just a reactionary I'm trying to put it in words because quite often I see things in visuals, so then I have to kind of translate it. But karma is, a lot of people take, karma will come back to you. Like it's such a bad thing. Karma is just what you do to others comes back around to you. We are beings having human experiences, but the nature of the reason why we've incarnated into physicality is because the divine source wants to experience through us. And the most important point is, sorry, I'm just going to get comfortable.
love it.
um, that the divine wants to experience everything that it can, but because the divine or God or source, however you want to call it, is in non-physical form, it's limited. It can't necessarily experience having, a milkshake or I'm just trying to think of an example here. And so because we are divine sparks of source, the whole purpose of having incarnation after incarnation is to experience everything that we can. And, to have one experience with one person and then to be on the receiving end of that and, experiencing it from the other person's perspective. And I think as a collective, we've got to a point of clearing so much past heavy karma as a collective that when we're in this higher energetic space, it's like if we put out like bad thoughts, or if we put out bad words or intentions against someone else, it's going to come back to us really quickly. But the same way, in the sense that manifestation happens very quickly too. So if we're trying to create something, that comes in a lot quicker than what it would have, say, 5-6 years ago, where we try and manifest something into our reality and it would take us freaking time. Whereas now it's like the materialization of matter is happening a lot faster. So, it happens from a quote unquote negative and positive effect at the same time. I went on a tangent. I don't know where I was going with that.
Oh no, it's perfect. It's perfect, and it makes so much sense. Yeah,
But I
because
think it's just the acceleration of energetic matter that's happening on the planet, whether we consider it good or bad. It's just an acceleration of either manifestation or ramifications. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm so glad that you're talking about that as far as things manifesting much more quickly, and that's what makes me really start to, and that resonates with me in terms of connecting with people, because what I'm wondering is that if I follow the energy, then I think what happens is those connections. And there again, I don't know if this sounds strange. Maybe that connection had already happened, and
100%.
I'm so busy trying to make a connection that the connection is either already happened before that. Either it has or it hasn't. But I'm so busy being human, going through all these gyrations and all these repetitive, robotic, just what we learn how to do, and we just repeat the same things over and over again, almost mechanically. And if I follow the energy, then what already has happened has happened. And yet, but I realize as humans, I feel like we want everything to mean something, right? We want to feel like we're doing something meaningful. But I'm wondering if what you're speaking of is these things have happened so quickly that there's, all the things that I'm going to do to try to manifest it when it's already manifested, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. It makes complete sense. And I think to hone in on one of the things that you said is that quite often we can be our own greatest block, in the sense of not seeing what's already in front of us, or not taking the guidance that has been given to us, and going against our intuition. Because when things come into alignment and flow, it's easy, it's graceful, and quite often we're looking for something that's not, we think isn't there. It's kind of, trying to think of an example. Sorry, trying to go into thinking of an example. But what you were mentioning about how trying to make something happen, as opposed to feeling into, and almost like the way I interpret it is like energetically pulling it in towards you and allowing it to come to you, or meet in a place. Did I say that right?
Oh, absolutely. And what's so interesting is it's the whole thing about trusting, right? I wonder in some ways, at least I know for me, what has been so difficult is that, trying to be able to trust that process. And so if I can say I trust it, but then if I find myself making all this effort, because I feel like that's somehow along the way, I don't know if that's something that we humans just did. At some point, there was this, I just feel like I kept going back to that or unconsciously, that I had to do something. There's surely there's something I have to do, right? There's something that, and I wasn't asking you that. I was just kind of asking that rhetorically, just is what it's like to be human. But I'm wondering in some ways if a lot of these things are just happening, and happening energetically, and being able to follow that. But I wonder if that's maybe the part that's so new for humans. And I can't say that I necessarily always am able to follow the energy, because I don't know necessarily. But then again, I can get really caught up in trying to do that, and then I'm back
We're
to trying to do something
programmed.
again.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a lot about the programming, that the matrix system that we've all been conditioned so well and so cleverly designed, in that you have to work really hard to achieve your goals. You've got
Yeah.
to, you've got to fight for what you want. You've got to, achieve, your achievements equal your success and value in the world and your status in the world and all these things. You laugh at it, but that's how we were all conditioned. That that real masculine oriented way of existing and getting ahead. And that really, we have a saying here in Australia. I don't know if you know it over there. I don't know why this is coming to my head, but there's this whole, they call it the tall poppy syndrome. And
Hmm.
what that means is that there is like, if you're doing really well, people want to cut you down.
Oh, okay.
So if
Yeah.
someone's
Yeah.
rising above the rest, then they want to bring you to your knees,
Mm. Yeah.
and and that comes from a scarcity mindset, that if I need to take that person down, that means that I have lack mentality, because my belief saying that there's not enough to go around. And I think we're all conditioned on some level to believe that, because that's what the program wants us to do, is to work harder, right? To make
Oh,
money for the
yeah.
man. Pay our taxes, do all that good
Yeah.
citizen shit. Whereas when we can surrender into the fact that I am an abundant being, I am infinitely guided, I'm infinitely protected, I infinitely have enough, then we flow into a surrender state, of a state of allowing. That's what it is. Mm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely.
It's being able to come into your alignment to attract to you. Sorry, going back to what you were saying, I 100% believe, because I work in a lot of timelines. That's a big part of my work, is reading into the energetic tethers of timelines, whether it be personal or collective. And quite often a timeline can be predominant, but doesn't necessarily land for 4 or 5 years. um, and I learned that kind of early on in my work, because I would give people readings. They would come back to me years later and they were like, oh my God, everything you said came true. The timing was just off by a couple of years.
Hmm.
you know and I I couldn't necessarily understand that at the time, because I didn't have the construct to understand it. But I realized that I have the potential to read really high timelines, because when I'm working in that state, I'm connected into a much higher vibrational state to be able to access information. And so where that timeline exists, and that reality that's already existing, as you said, it's got to fall into material matter. It needs to drop, anchor into the physical to then be experienced. But generally, it's that what I call an energy thread of that higher timeline. And I think that there are potential timelines, and I think that there are set timelines. So I think that there are things that we've written into our soul contract that are inevitable. And I think that there are threads either side of those coming together that can be potentialities, right? And then we hit junction points. Man, I've gone on a tangent tonight, haven't I?
Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
So we hit junction points of things that must occur, and then outside of those parameters we can have potentialities. And we can go one way, but we always sort of come back into that intersection point. And I kind of joke about when I see people hit their ascension point going along their awakening journey, I'm like, oh, are they going to go that hard way or the easy way? Because there's this
Yes.
potentiality to kind of do what your soul's calling to do, but a lot of people have too much fear. because of the program that are ingrained
Yeah.
around scarcity, about lack, about, poverty consciousness and all those sorts of things. So it's really outwitting that programming to be able to access to the next point where we need to go. And so a lot of people, I myself included, this is not a dig or judgment.
Absolutely, I can totally identify. Many
Need a
times, many
couple of
times.
harsh slappings across the face to get to that next junction point,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, that's my perspective anyway. I've just gone on a tangent. Sorry, Jeff. We got
Oh
through.
no, that's beautiful, and I mean, and to me, that I mean, I really identify with that, and I think what's happened is a lot of times, the easy way has been there, but I was too busy trying to. I guess what I would say is I was too busy taking the hard way
Yeah,
because I really thought that was the only option available,
yeah.
uh, and a lot of it was really mindless and very unconscious.
Mm,
Uh, that I just didn't see that there was another way, and yet here, and I wonder if in some ways, I feel like that as ascension continues and as consciousness continues to ascend, I'm wondering if some of this is not only being able to take in new wisdom, but I'm also wondering if some of this is wisdom that was actually present at some point in ancient wisdom. I always find it interesting that, like, for instance, in Eastern thought and philosophy, when I look at modern life and the way that we, the programming, my understanding is that we misunderstand cause and effect to a certain degree. We're so busy thinking, from through the lens of ancient, as far as Eastern thought and philosophy, we're so busy thinking that we are the ones that are doing things when in fact energetic, and I feel like I'm not a scholar or nor an expert, but I just, in my own life and in my own experiences through studying those things, many years ago, and realizing that, yeah, a lot of that wisdom was there. It's just that we've somehow forgotten,
mm-hmm.
individually and collectively, some of that ancient wisdom. Yeah, it's kind of like what is old is new again, maybe in some way.
Yeah. And I think that it resides within us, each and every one of us. To be on this planet right now, you've lived out many great incarnations, because I truly
Yeah,
believe it's
yeah,
only the best of the best that we're able to come into physical body for this shift. And because of that, they've needed people who have mastered self-mastery in many capacities, in many lifetimes, in different teachings, to be able to come here to this came through in a session of mine today, so I'm going to use it because the words just come through to me. Go through the river of oblivion, which
yeah,
is that
yeah.
loss of memory as we are born into this world. We forget who we are. We forget our past learnings and teachings and understandings and wisdom, only to go into a space of unconsciousness. But I truly believe that there's purpose in that, because it enables us to have the human experience, to be relatable, to be connectable, to be able to connect with others. Sorry. And then as we come out of that unconsciousness, we have our awakening, or the various stages of our awakening, because it's an ongoing process. We start to recall and remember. And I think with you, I don't know, I'm so curious, because we have an appointment tomorrow morning. We have a session. But
Absolutely.
but I think a lot of the times when we're drawn to particular teachings, whether it's teachings from the East, or ancient Egypt, or the Essene teachings, wherever we kind of feel, Buddhism was a big one of mine. I think it's because that resonates on a soul level, because we've had that experience, and we've gone through those teachings in a different experience. And so we're gravitated to remembering through that,
Oh yeah.
would you
Yeah.
agree
Absolutely.
in like all the study that you've done over different spiritual concepts and teachings and texts, and do you think that that has been a big part of your relearning and remembering of stuff that you already knew?
It really does. And what's interesting is I was so busy back in those days studying and accumulating things and storing it and compartmentalizing it and figuring out a way to just keep packing more and more wisdom, sort of like, storing it and packing it in, so to speak, that at some point, I think what happened was I just kind of got, basically saturated. And I think it's only been when I've been willing to actually slow down and listen. And this is still
Mm,
something that's very new to me in terms of just tuning into the energy. And I
yeah.
really have no idea what I'm doing. But yet again, I'm wondering, I'm saying that because as a human, I've always believed that I had to know what I'm doing. And I can honestly say to you, I have no idea what I'm doing. Uh,
To any of us.
but it actually feels freeing though, in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
always seen I always talk about, I see a difference or differentiate between awakening and ascension. Um, you know,
Interesting. Interesting.
those words can be used interchangeably, but I see awakening as more of an intellectual path of gathering information. And yeah,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
when I use the term or phrase, when you hit your ascension point, what I'm referring to is generally there's like a catalyst experience that happens, but that is the tipping point of when it goes from accumulating knowledge or information to putting it into practice, and it becomes experiential at that point. And so it's no longer
Yeah.
about learning or remembering, it's about putting it into practice and self-mastery. And that's where the navigation through your own feeling and sensory is absolutely necessary. Like you know, it's a
Oh
prerequisite.
yeah.
You can't navigate without having, and I think that the awakening part is so critical in that, because it lays down a basis of foundations and tools and concepts and ideas that are going to help you on the next part, where all the guidebooks go out the
Wow.
window.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And that's ultimately what brought me to the journey, I feel like, is I mean, originally I was looking for a way to feel better and not suffer from chronic depression. And then once I became aware of all these texts and things that I could study and learn, I've always been someone who's had a very intellectual bent.
mm,
So I've always really leaned heavily towards that. But then again, at some point, it just became something else that I was doing, that I was trying to manifest wisdom. I was trying to manifest this different way of being.
yeah.
And at some point, I realized I hit the wall with that. And so I think just it's maybe been just even, I say, in terms of I just found out about ascension. I didn't really know anything about the ascension world or 5D consciousness. Now, I don't know if maybe I'd experienced a little bit of that or had a taste of it. I didn't know what it was, but that's
Uh-huh.
only been since early last year. And
Mhm.
so now what I'm finding is it's a lot of this is now about unlearning.
Yes.
Uh,
Everything you
as
thought you
strange as
knew,
that sounds.
flip it on its head. That's what I always say. Everything you thought you knew,
Yeah.
flip it on its head.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but you know what? Like, I was having a chat to a very dear soul sister of mine this week, and we were kind of like having these like reflective conversations. I love reflective conversations. It brings up so much.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and she was saying to me, actually, I'll do a shout out to her, beautiful Hester, who does all the artwork, the light language artwork. She does amazing work. And I have a lot of love for her. Anyway, we were talking about how when you start to go on your ascension journey and you look back and you think you've only been on it for, a year or, whatever, and you look back and you go, oh no, this has been happening for a long time. You just know what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I remember in 2011 coming back from a trip from Egypt, and I was so incredibly sick. It started with an ear infection and it just rippled through my body.
Oh
And
my goodness.
I remember thinking to myself, I'm really sick. Like I couldn't get out of bed. And it, like I've had ear infections before. Like it was not a normal ear infection. I can tell you that right now.
Wow.
And I think that I definitely did, I tended to get quite sick either when I was traveling or after I came back from a trip. And you throw it down to things like, oh, it was food poisoning, it was bad street food, it was this, it was that. But when I look back on the journey I was like, I was in some very high energetic portals. I was on some of the most sacred sites that the planet knows, almost unknowingly at that time. I mean, I knew, but I didn't know to the extent that I know now.
Oh yeah.
And I would get violently ill, and I would have these days where I'd knocked out in bed and I couldn't move. I couldn't understand why my body just wouldn't function. And now I look back, I'm like, oh, it was ascension symptoms, like, you just, so I truly believe, like, if you're to look back at your journey too, Jeff, and we're probably going to map that tomorrow, I'm excited, but,
Love it.
It probably goes back decades, honestly.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
And I say that for most people as watching, I've always found that when I talk to people, I've been very open about my spiritual journey all my life and my paranormal experiences all my life, because it's so normal to me. It's as normal as going down and buying some bread and milk from the shops.
Yeah.
This morning there was a 9-foot, galactic being standing in my doorway, and then I went and got a coffee, but I always find that when you're open with people about these things, because, let's face it, growing up, it's quite taboo in society. It's not that way anymore, but it has been.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But when you start to open up to people, everyone has a story. Everyone has had an
Oh
experience.
yeah.
People say,
Absolutely.
when I was 8 years old, I woke up one night and there was this blue being in my room. Ah, okay, right. Here we go.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of people suppress that because they think it's imagination and they discount it, credit it. And whatever experience, it doesn't have to be galactic, it can be of any nature, paranormal, non-physical. So yeah. Oh, Jeff, we've gone on some tangents tonight.
Wow.
So what do you feel the new is going to go? I'm going to try and bring it back full circle. What do you feel like the new way for you? What does it feel like in making connections?
Thank you so much for asking, Alisha. That's the big question. I love that. I think what it is coming down to is that I am going to, and I'm finding myself doing this already, is just listening, just tuning in to the energy and realizing that I don't have, there's, I mean, I don't, and there again, I mean, of course, do I want to be respectful? Do I want to be kind? Do I want to be someone that's, treat people, I want to treat people, with love, and I want to show the love that's there, and just, try to be someone who brings, joy, whatever joy that comes up within me, and to share that with people. But I think it's really more about about slowing down and not being so busy trying to be what I think other people want me to be. Or the other side of this coin is that I don't necessarily need to make judgments, and not judgments, that's probably too harsh of a word, but sometimes I think there's a tendency we kind of want to mirror other people. So in other words, I'm so busy. If I'm trying to find acceptance with you on a human level, I'm going to be watching the way you react to things that I say, and I'm going to be very careful about what I say, because I want to say things that are accepted and heard. But what I'm realizing, and that's kind of what I love about this time of morning is, talking to you here, it is, I rolled out of bed at 4 a.m. and it's almost like it's too early for me to even if I wanted to be Jeff, who I think Jeff is, it's way too early for me to do it. So here I am with you. And I've been here with you for the past hour, just because it's almost like I'd like to give myself credit, but not really. But
you totally got to give yourself credit, because rolling out at 4 a.m. is something I could not do.
Yeah.
Credit where credit is due.
Yeah. And I was going to say, even, as much as I'd like to take credit for just being here with you and just, without trying to be whoever I think I thought that I had to be, what I'm finding is that it just happens. There's just this, and maybe that is it too. That if I can sense that it is safe, if I can feel like the energy is conducive for me to do that, and that it's okay to do that. But I realize it's probably not okay to do that with everyone. And even the word okay sounds judgmental. I think there, anything positive, negative, good, bad, when I take all that away, it's just about, and maybe there aren't even words for this yet. I wonder if our language has not caught up to this, that if I can sense that it's okay to just be here with you and be whoever I am, then I can do that. And if I recognize that I can't, that that's not really happening, and that's okay. And I feel like it's nothing against the other person. It's just that evidently there's not that energetic connection. I don't think it's possible to have that with everyone. I don't really know what the rules are, because I don't, I have no way, excuse me, I have no way of knowing. So all I'm really doing is kind of feeling my way through this.
And so beautifully.
Yeah, it's like there's no handbook. Sorry about this.
There really isn't a handbook. And I think so beautifully are you, now trying to navigate new terrain. And I think you're right, because a lot of the time I like to make up words. Mash words together, because I don't think that we have the vocabulary, for a lot of these experiences as they're coming. But I think probably the most important thing for me is that being authentic is important.
Oh yeah.
Because wearing a mask and a facade is exhausting, and when we're trying to be in a certain way to appease people in our life, that will always catch up with us, But not only that, in catching up with you and being outed or whatever, it's exhausting on the human, it's exhausting on the soul to try and be something that you're not, just for love and acceptance, whereas there's probably other humans who are going to love and accept you for the authentic being that you are. And
wow. Yes.
I think that that's a big part in that transition shift, is inauthentic connections and relationships into ones that are, let's face it, we're all becoming so damn energetically sensitive that we can't lie to one another, because we can basically read each other's thoughts, So, I mean, that's a society that we're moving into. So, and maybe that's a long way away for some people.
Oh yeah.
And then it's a lot closer for some of us who are already, highly telepathic. And I believe that a lot of people are telepathic and don't even realize it,
Wow. Yes.
Because,
oh, absolutely.
And I think you and I have talked off camera about like your energy sensitivity, and only, really starting to appreciate and understand that, and realizing that it's been like that for a very long time.
Wow.
So yeah, moving into a society where transparency is everything, energy is everything. Energy never lies. Energy never lies. People can say whatever they like, but the energy behind it's always going to feel off.
Yes. Oh,
Have
absolutely.
you ever had an experience where someone's saying something, but the energy says, "Oh, different ball game"?
Oh yeah, yeah. And also, I've also been the person saying something.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's like I'm looking at someone and they're they're picking up on it, even if they, maybe they're not 100% tuned in, and they're saying, I can definitely tell you're not excited about. No, I'm definitely excited. No, I promise. Yeah, and I'm trying so hard to convince them, and I'm trying. Yeah. It's pointless. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Oh my goodness, what a conversation, Jeff. Just thank you
Yeah. Thank you.
for joining me in yet another, storytelling. I don't even know what we're calling this yet. I haven't come up with the official name. It'll come when it's ready. Can't remember what
I don't know if we have. I don't know if there's a word for this yet. Is there? Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Synergistic conversations. It just came to me
Yeah.
down.
There you go.
There we
Yeah.
go. There we go.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for being the container of holding space and sharing your insights and rawness and vulnerability and openness, and for rolling out of bed at 4 a.m. Like,
Oh, I would miss it. I would miss it for the world. Absolutely. Yeah.
definitely my hero in that regard. So
And what I love about this is it's like it's like there's no it's too early for me to even be, even if I wanted to be, trying to be somebody or who I think I was. Yeah, it's too early anyway. And so that's what I
can't.
love. It's like I don't even have a chance anyway. It's kind of like here I am. Yeah.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. And thank you so much, Alisha, because I was going to say, I want to mirror the same thing back to you, is that I feel very safe in this space with you to be able to just be me and to just be able to share these things. So I want you to know that I really do mirror that back to you. And I value that so much within you that, yeah, I feel like this is the co-creation of a space, and I really honor you for that. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. So much appreciation, and thank you so much everyone for tuning in and listening. I hope you've gained something out of this conversation, and we'll certainly be back for many more installments, and once again open to suggestions of topics or points of view, and we can get down and we'll go on tangents and we'll go wherever we need to go. And yeah, just a massive thank you. And till next week, we'll catch you then, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Thanks so much.